just how I'm feeling, though I never wanted you another way. But baby, it's been on my mind, and you know my face can't hide it. So take my hand and hear me when I say, don't you know that I'll be there for you, with a love to get you through the night, yeah. And I'll be there for you when everything is out of sight. You got it, baby. One more time, you got to get it right and funky by this life with you. And honey, if you're diving, I'ma get you by, but come on, baby, die.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even have my mic in front of me. Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It's a beautiful day. I mean, it turned into fall, people. It turned into fall. If you haven't noticed, it turned into fall. It is Jamie Tripp in the chat. Good to see you in here, brother. Hopefully everything's going well for you up there. Hopefully everything is going well for you up there. Make sure to visit Test Batches up in Midland, Ontario. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I believe that's it. Jamie's a long time. He's an OG. So show him some love up there and check out Test Batches. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's episode 69 of the Adam Makes Beer podcast. Nice. I'm coming to you from the city with no pity, the San Diego of the Midwest. I've been drinking more coffee than I should. It is 7 p.m. I did start the stream a little bit earlier today. Yeah, just because I want to be able to go to bed earlier. I'm always interested to see when and what times are good for people. I can get a wide range of stuff. I just had a podcast with Chris Lewington of Brew Resourceful. If you haven't checked out that's over on the YouTube channel. That's over on Spotify. It may still be lingering over on Twitch. So if you're out there twitching, let me know. Get in that chat and say what's good. One of the big reasons that I do these podcasts live is I like the pressure. No, that's not true. First of all, it's the only way that I knew how to do podcasts when I first started. My son just asked me, he's in the next room doing some homework, and he asked me how I started doing, videos. And I told him originally I was just doing in-brewery content, recording myself, and then my buddy Andy helped me edit those videos, and then I would post them. And then after a little while, I ended up trying a live stream because I was trying to get some people to follow the channel. And yeah, Benjamin on Instagram says it is stout season. SZN. It's my favorite way to say season. I feel like I introduced it to my fantasy football league, or at least a few buddies, a bunch of us 50-year-olds in there, and they had never seen SZN for season. But that's what it is. It is stout season. And summer did roll by, Brewer Mike. It's wild, man. It's been flying by. For everybody that's joining the chat, welcome. If it's the first time you're here, I'm excited you're here. One of the reasons I do them live, though, is I want to be able to interact with people. I have a question that came in for tonight with just folks, kind of talking about dealing with what they're dealing with work-wise. And one of the reasons that I like this and this format is it does kind of create this opportunity for us to get together and to be able to talk in real time, so, or at least with a slight delay. I'm blowing up this screen over here. I'm trying to move my Instagram chat over, but it's one of the reasons that I like this. It is an opportunity for industry folks, whether you're industry or not. We have people that are brewing at home for the love of it. We got craft beer people in here too, but just an opportunity to talk through things, So yeah, that is the advantage of the live thing. So as always, be dropping those questions, comments, topics anything that you have in there. And we're going to be rolling through it. But just off the top, everybody, if you are new to the channel, check out the playlist tab. And even if you aren't, over on the Adam Makes Beer YouTube channel, there's a ton of info over there that you should check out. It shouldn't be. Jamie's saying I froze, and I don't know quite why. I shouldn't. Let me see. Hopefully this will work. Oh, it was you? Well, let me know if something goes sideways with the stream, because I was actually hardlined in. I had the Ethernet running, and I did just switch it to Wi-Fi. So if something does start getting wonky, let me know, and I'll switch it back to the Ethernet. I am not a tech wizard, people. But what were we talking about? Oh, tons of stuff over on the YouTube channel. Full brew days on anything from 3.5 barrel systems to big mega systems, where they're turning the brew house 8 times a day, making big regional beer, shipping them everywhere. So kind of big time to small time. There's some tutorial stuff over there, as far as if you feel as if you're new to the industry and you want to sharpen up some of your skills, or you just want to see how somebody else does things, or their thought pattern around how they do their work. Check that out. There's a ton of stuff over there. So there's a lot of resources. My goal is, if you see like the little Adam Makes Beer thing at the beginning, it says helping brewers grow. My background's in teaching. I did that for 10 years. And I love the educational mentor portion of what I've been doing on the pro side for the last 14 years. So yeah, that's what we're all about here. But my full-time job is content creation. So if you are loving the educational content I'm bringing your way, if you're getting any value out of it and have the means, please consider channel membership over on YouTube for less than a cup of coffee a month. It's just a little shout out, a little love to your boy over here in Cincinnati. Folks like that help to keep the lights on. It's very much appreciated. And also being, sharing my content on any platform that you encounter it, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those spots is a benefit to me as well. That's a free way to help me out. If you are in need of my consultation services, please reach out to me. You can hit me up via Instagram or LinkedIn. Both of those places have a copy of my one-pager and some of the stuff that I do. I can help you with brewery build-out stuff, SOP stuff. I can come to your brewery on your equipment and help you create safer, more efficient, and cleaner practices in your spot. So hit me up. Also, the Adam Makes Beer Fantasy Football League is 1 week into, and it wouldn't be its inception, but it's out there thumping. You know what I mean? I got Ryan in the chat. Howdy from Georgia, and thanks for the Instagram follow. Means a lot to a small guy like myself. Ryan, man, good to see you in here. Hurt people. I got a lot of things coming in. Oh, I got my boy. I got my boy Stu in the chat. I was going to mention this a little bit later, but if you have not checked out the Small Town Guys podcast, you can give us a follow on Instagram. The content posts on my podcast feed and on the YouTube channel as well. If you've ever wondered what it's like with me and my longtime, lifetime friends just hanging out and talking nonsense, that's what that podcast is. It's not a beer podcast, but it's just something that we started doing for fun recently. Stu's in my messages right now. We're both Lions fans, and we're both hurting over what happened yesterday. And he said, I want the Vikings to brutalize the Bears, hurt people. And that makes me laugh. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt me to see Ben Johnson's Bears get destroyed. But anyways, that's just me. So listen, fantasy football season, we're out here, we're doing the thing. You know what else we're doing? I'm gonna lean over. Boom, baby. Adam Makes Beer store. Adam Makes Beer. Adam Makes Beer, helping brewers grow. There's shirts in there. There's swag. Do you want a huge mug with my face on it and it says Brew Daddy on this on the other side? That's where you can get it. If you're asking yourself, why would anybody want that? The real question is why is the #1 selling item in the store? So, yeah. What else? Let's pay a few bills, people. Let's give a little shout to my friends over here at Blickman Engineering. Starting a brewery is a big step. Blickman Engineering is here to help. Since 2006, they've equipped hundreds of nano breweries for success. Their new 3.5 barrel Pro Surface electric brewing system cuts maintenance and saves at least 30 minutes per brew with powerful under kettle heating. From 1 to 15 barrel brew houses to keg washers and grain mills, Blickman has what you need. Ready to go pro? Contact Phil or Tom at Pro Series at blickmanengineering.com. Blickman Engineering is a proud sponsor of this channel and loves to help brewers at every stage of their journey. Tracking and managing the financial health of your brewery is a primary pillar of success. Check out my boy David Lentz. Hiccup at Brewed Fiscally. This man has the industry experience and skills you need so you can focus on growing your business. Bookkeeping, fractional CFO support, financial management system design, business plan review, hit up your boy. Check him out at brewedfiscally.com or shoot him an email at david@brewedfiscally.com. He's good people. Let's roll into your Adam Makes Beer news. As always, chatters, hit me up. Say what's good. Let me know if you want any topics, any feedback, any questions, and we'll get rocking here in just a second. Today it's a Q&A live stream where you can ask anything, but we're kind of focusing on CIP stuff. I have some stuff geared up for that. I have some questions related to it. So we're good on that front, but I'm always looking for different vantage points, things you've seen that you don't quite know how to handle or want to bounce something off me on that. Let's do that. So pop in that chat, say, hey, let me know where you're from. It's good to see you in there. But before we get rolling on the cues, how about some news? AdamMakesBeer.com. I own it. So I just bought the domain today. I actually had the domain a couple years ago when I was going to do a website, and my card got canceled because I had like a fraud thing or happened, whatever. And so my payments lapsed on that and I lost the domain, and then they're trying to punish me to make me pay more to buy it again, but I just waited them out and now I'm back in here. Okay. So I've got that domain. I'm going to be putting up a website here in the near future, and it's going to have a range of stuff. It'll have obviously the business type stuff I'm doing, merch store, things like that. But also I'm going to be putting up kind of a little library of some blog posts, anything from technical brewing stuff, leadership stuff, professional development stuff, things like that. So that'll be cool. We'll be adding that, and it'll be a good way to keep in line with what's going on with me. If you have not seen my new Brew Day video that has dropped on YouTube with Depot Brewing in Mara, Ohio, you need to. They're brewing on, it's a new system over there, a little 3.5 barrel guy, and they're turning out some beer, people. They're turning out some suds. So it's kind of a cool behind the scenes. You can see some different style equipment. That brew house that they're working on has some stuff that I have not seen before. For instance, beneath their false bottom, they do have heating elements. It's an electric brew house, and they have heating elements that while you circulate or Vorloff, you can turn those on and adjust the temperature of your mash. Interesting stuff. So yeah, that's out there. I already mentioned the Small Town Guys podcast. Again, that's just, me and one of my buddies having a good time. If you ever just looking for a little hangout time with your people, that's a good opportunity there. And it's also potentially just kind of, it's me and Stu talking about stuff that we think is funny. We love it. We love doing it. and maybe nobody else will. But it seems early returns have been decent on it. So get in there and check it out, both over on Spotify, Apple Pod, anything. It's under my Adam Makes Beer feed. If it's not for you because you're not, you either don't like me personally or you only want to hear me talk about beer stuff, I get it too. I wouldn't listen to me. Note to viewers, I am not drunk. Okay. This is a shout out to Mikhail. Mikhail commented on I don't think it was a super recent video. I had a 10-minute video where I was discussing using peracetic acid. And for the first 30 seconds of that video, it is taken from a live stream. So I'm talking to people in the chat. We're laughing, having a good time. And he told me that after 30 seconds, I was not taught peracetic, wasted his time, and that everybody thinks that I'm hammered, and maybe implied that I need to stop drinking the way I do. Listen, Mikhail, here's the deal. I think I've drank on these streams like twice. I don't think I've ever had more than 2 beverages in my system while sitting in front of this camera. So sometimes people just enjoy what they're doing. And also, if you feel as if there's too much tomfoolery and you didn't have the time for the tomfoolery, you could just hit fast forward. Or you could just comment, because that actually takes more time than just hitting fast forward and getting to the actual content. But in general, I think when people say things when they're trying to be mean to you on Facebook, and I've actually been, and other platforms or YouTube, whatever, I've actually been super fortunate. You guys have all been so positive with me, by and large. It's really, it's an outlier. It's a statistical outlier. The positive to negative stuff that I get. So, shout out to all of you. But generally, when people say things that are unkind, my hunch is they probably have to be having a bad day to be getting on the internet and saying something that will potentially hurt somebody else's feelings. My guess is if the sun was shining on them and they had something beautiful and joyful in front of them, they wouldn't be doing it. But, that's just me. That's just me. Brewer Mike, PDX on Instagram. What's my worst CIP story? Let's get into it. I think this might be one of my first questions from Instagram, Mike. So thanks, man. This is fun. Worst CIP story. So I've been doing this for 14 years now. I think the worst, I remember when I first started, I was always worried. I had this huge CIP pump at the first brewery I was at, and we're blasting chemical through these tanks or whatever. And I've never really done that before. I was a home brewer for several years and very dedicated to learning everything that I could, but I had not used commercial equipment before I got that job. So I just remember being so scared of my triclover connections or my tri-clamp connections that they're going to burst out, and then I'm going to have 160 degree F chemical blowing all over the place, and I'm going to lose my skin. So that was one of the things that I was always afraid of. Thankfully, that never, I've really dodged that bullet so far. I mean, I've gotten caustic on me. I've gotten peracetic acid. It's one of those, if you know things. If you peracetic acid, it gets on you. You don't quite notice it. Like you start tingling, burning a little bit, and then it's just white patches everywhere it is, and you can rinse and rinse and rinse, and it takes forever to get it off your skin. Adam, you should have been wearing appropriate PPE. Of course, I should have. But nobody's perfect. So I've had my peracetic acid run-ins. I have gotten a little chemical in my eye before, but I was able to flush it. I have had one of those situations where somehow the glycol jacket did not get turned off while I was running a hot cycle. So it was knocking down the temperature of my fermenter that I was attempting to clean. And I could have been drawing a vacuum if I didn't have certain practices in place that kind of help you not draw a vacuum. So, I mean, for me, it's more near misses than anything. You know, I'm sure I kind of made some fundamental mistakes back in the day, but you try to keep doing your thing, and stay smart with it. So yeah, I think that's really my worst. The worst of the worst of it. Some minor burns, like that gloss. Hey, are you still there? I'm feeling really sad, you guys. I'm really. I've got people in here. I've got questions coming up. And I think I'm live again. Let me know if you can see me. I've never had a stream drop like that because of my internet. It does appear as if I'm back up. So yeah. All right. Well, let's keep it rolling. Thank you for your patience, everybody. I forgot where I was at with I forgot where I was at just before I got cut off. I am back. Did I finish talking about what we were talking about as far as CIP mistakes and stuff? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Mike. Yeah. So Benjamin on Instagram says caustic versus PBW, which do you favor and why? Well, I could dig into this question a little bit. I can tell you what I like to use them for. I do know that some people like to use, sometimes people will use a PBW. And when we talk about PBW, some place will call it PBC, but it's basically a powdered brewery cleaner. I believe it's an alkali, and you can use it in circulation. I don't know how much it foams if you were to be running it through a spray ball. My hunch is that you might get some foaming, maybe not so much that it would be a problem. But I like to use a powdered cleaner and a liquid CIP caustic in different ways. One of the ways that I like to use a PBW solution or a powdered brewery cleaner type thing is I like to use that for smalls for a soak. So when I say smalls, at the end of the day, I'll mix up some hot PBW and I will get my my clamps, gaskets, small parts, different things like that I've used throughout the day. and I'll throw it in there for a soak, and I'll use it like that. I've also used it a little bit in an ultrasonic cleaner, and we'll get into ultrasonic cleaners a little bit today. The reason that I favor liquid caustics for CIP is, in general, I can get one that won't foam very much at all, depending on the soil load in the vessel. And I can also get like a beer stone remover added to that as well. So there's a few things like that makes me prefer the liquid caustic product to that for like fermenter, bright tank CIPs. So yeah, I mean that's just kind of my take with it, Benjamin. Great name, by the way. One of my boys is named Ben. So yeah, that's how I use it. I just use them for different applications. And maybe there's somebody out there that's ripping their CIP pump driven CIP with PBW, and it works for them. That's fine. It's just not generally what I do. I like to use the liquid product. I think there's some things you can do with it that I just feel a little bit more comfortable, like the beer stone remover and stuff like that. So yeah, man, appreciate the question. Good to see you in here. Good to see you in here. What else? Man, Instagram's popping with the live questions. And thank you to Rich and Metalhead for letting me know when the world was ending here with my stream completely failing. So yeah. Goodness, hold on. I'm all choked up with emotion, people. Billy over on Instagram. What's the favorite beer you've brewed so far and why? Well, Billy, I might go a little metaphysical for you here, ma'am. My favorite thing is my favorite thing about beer. Actually, there's a really long list. If you ask my wife, and I always say, babe, I mean, is this a top 10 song for you? I have like 200 top 10 songs. I'm one of those people. I just love things intensely. There's a lot of things that I love about brewing and making beer. And so to talk about what the favorite beer that I've brewed, there's a few things that I love. I love trying new techniques, things that I have not tried before. Like a really easy case in point, like when people first started, like dropping whirlpool temps and doing things like that, different dry hopping techniques, stepping up my water game with what I was bringing to the table, water chemistry wise. I love the nitty gritty of it. I love the small tweaking of it, right? The dialing in. There's some beers that like aren't my thing, but I've really loved making them. There is a hibiscus beer that I made back in the day, which was just kind of this big. It made the beer look like fruit punch. I believe off the top of my head, it was 3 pounds per barrel of dried hibiscus in the bright tank. And that level of hibiscus will give you a firm amount of acidity and tannin. Okay. And so I was struggling in building that beer. The acidity would push so low, it would push close to 3 as far as for pH. And then I would struggle with balance with the beer. And then I realized, well, I can drop the bitterness all the way out. The acidity that it's creating and the tannin contribution is actually going to be enough to balance this beer. And I would have enough hops in it to keep it street legal. But cracking the code on balance, I'm fascinated with. Another thing that I love about that beer was it looked like a fruit beer. It drank like a raspberry cranberry fruit beer. The foam was bubblegum pink. It was red. It was fun. And it looks like a fruit beer, but it's not. I love that. One of the reasons that I love crisp, dry, pale West Coast IPAs is because when you kind of look at them from across the bar, you don't know if it's a light beer or not. I love that very unassuming look to a beer, but then you can smell it from 5 feet away. The hops are jumping. It's crisp. So I love that to it. So I always love making new things. Yeah, to me, I love the discipline of it. I love the craft of it, air quotes craft. But I just love trying to get better and doing new things. So some beers that I've been really proud of. A beer that really isn't in my wheelhouse personally. I made a beer called Escape when I was back at Cartridge, and I had gotten an ingredient from Cholaka. Show me some love, Cholaka, because I'm talking this thing up. Their coconut puree that they have, I think, is baller. And coconut beers have always sold well for me. And so I made a coconut stout and I used their coconut puree. And then I came over the top of that with it, with a little bit of toasted coconut extract, and it helped to lift the nose a little bit. Don't hate on layering flavors and layering ingredients. So I wanted to use that in a summer beer, and it also throws a haze, right? Because coconut does do that. Like, that's the coconut in the beer. So I'm like, so what could I do? This coconut is so good. Well, what if I made like a pina colada wheat beer? And on the original notes for that, I'm like, whatever, the stupid coconut beer, because it would not be something that is for me for everyday drinking, right? And I put it together, and I hit it. And like the first time, I never really had to tweak that one. Usually I'm tweaking stuff. The balance was right. I used real pineapple, and a little touch of natural extract on top to lift those aromatics to help it be bright. And dude, it was a banger, and it sold really well in house. It was a really popular beer. So sometimes there's like those wins of just dialing in flavor creation, right? Or like riffing on a concept and saying, how can I get that into a glass? That stuff fires me up. So I appreciate your question, man. Appreciate the question, Billy. Yeah, Brewer Mike asked the question, what are the most common mistakes breweries make during CIP? Now, we're going to start rolling into this. And, in no way, shape, or form, when we're going through these things, am I trying to come off as I've never made a mistake with this stuff, I've never done something wrong, holier than thou, guru on the mountain. I'm coming at it from the perspective of somebody that has made mistakes. I've been grinding to get better. I've had a lot of experience at different places. I've been able to see different things. I try to do my research, dude. This book right here, Balla Balla Balla, you need it. It's awesome. If you're trying to get better at what you're doing, Brewery Cleaning, Equipment, Procedures, and Troubleshooting by Richard J. Wrench. This is from Master Brewers Association, so it's good. There's some beautiful stuff in here, and we're going to be digging into some of this. So, like, this isn't me, like, preaching and trying to act like I'm too good for it and that, only suckers make mistakes. But I will say, only suckers keep making mistakes. I mean, it's us up to keep, to try to get better, right? So kind of talking about this question here with Brewer Mike, what are the most common mistakes? I'll talk about some things that I've done wrong in the past, some things that I've seen people not do wrong, but maybe can do better, more efficiently. And so I think, the best way to look at it is just kind of off the top. The core of CIP, clean in place, is the 4 pillars: time, temperature, chemical concentration, and mechanical action. Time is self-obvious, I think. It's the amount of time you run the cycle for. Temperature of that cleaning liquid that you are using, that CIP liquid that you're using, whether it's a caustic, acid, or otherwise. but not just the temperature of it when you made it, the temperature of it while it's circulating. Okay. Your chemical concentration. And there's a couple of ways to track that, and we'll get into it. And there's mechanical action. Mechanical action can be pump driven. It can be elbow grease. You know what I mean? All of these things, all of these elements can be manipulated. Like you can, if your temperature is lower, you probably have to increase time or increase chemical concentration. Okay. So, there's parameters here and they can shift a little bit, but we want to understand how those things work. So, Mike, when you talk about, what are some of the most common mistakes, I think it's in some of these fundamentals. And for me personally, I'll say I've always been really good at saying, okay, this is the amount of time I'm supposed to run my cycle for. This is the temperature I've been pretty good on. Chemical concentration, I've done an all right job on throughout my career. But one area where I think I've been slipping, at least through a portion of my career, was on the mechanical action side. So first of all, you should be having active conversations with your chemical supplier. Okay. Have a very good understanding of how you're supposed to be handling those chemicals. And here's the general catch-all for the entire podcast. Appropriate PPE, everybody. Eyewear, face guards, gloves, whatever they say you should be using, use it. Okay. That is what I support. But I did a pretty good job with those core things. But one thing I didn't track well was the mechanical action or flow rate. And, I had a flow meter in the brewery. And I used it for mashing. And then I actually had two. And then I would have another one where I would measure water into tanks. When I was going to be getting ready to CIP a fermenter, I would hot rinse it, get a lot of my junk out of there. The Kreuzen and whatnot out of there. And then I would hook up and I would put a measured amount of water in and a measured amount of chemical. Okay, that's pretty solid. You can take it further than that. And then I would start up my cycle. But one of the areas where I think people miss is, and I think this is a common thing, I don't think people check the flow rate of their CIP loops when they're doing, we'll call it, some people call it, I've heard it called a belly wash. So you have your tank, you're putting liquid, you're putting water and chemical into the bottom, one line out through the dump port, which goes to the face of the pump, kicks out the top, goes up to the CIP arm on the side, up to the top to the spray ball. That's your loop. When I say belly wash, that's what I'm talking about. You're putting chemical in the belly of a tank and you're circulating it with a pump in a loop. Back in the day, I would throw any number of hoses into that loop and just run it. Now, the pump I had was a monster and maybe the flow rate was appropriate, but I didn't know that for sure. So I'll say one of the things that I think is one of the golden things that you may be able to add to your game is, first, I would put cold water in the bottom of a tank, or just ambient water in the bottom of a tank, enough that you can typically run that belly wash with. And then I would take your typical hose setup from your tank to your pump and from your pump to your tank. And I would put a flow meter in line and I would turn that on. You can see kind of a range of things. But I think 25 to 35 gallons per minute might be a decent place to look at starting. And you can drill down a little bit more on that. One of the reasons I don't have super specifics on that is you're going to see different flow rates for the diameter of pipe that you have and diameter of hoses. So if you're running something that's all on 3/8, and yes, there are some nano stuff that runs on 3/8, it's going to be different. You know, inch tubing, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches, all that stuff will matter. So dig into that a little bit and find the specific one. But take your typical CIP loop and spin it as fast as you usually do. Okay. Maybe you're doing more than you need to. Maybe you can dial that back a little bit. Maybe you're just making your pump rage and it doesn't need to. But make sure you're hitting those flow rate requirements. And I'll throw in one other one. And this is going to be a bad, I don't have anything physically to show you here, but a lot of times people will have their CIP out hose coming from the pump up to the CIP arm coming down from the fermenter. Where am I? I want to be over it. Do I want to be over it? It doesn't really matter where I am. So you hook up CIP arm, goes up to the top of the tank. Sometimes people will build in a T right in there as well, and they'll cut some of that chemical supply that's going to the spray ball, and they'll cut that off into another hose that they'll then run through other ports or the racking arm. I don't have a problem with that, okay? But I do want to make sure that I have appropriate flow rate going through both of those hoses, okay? Because what you don't want to be doing is diminishing the flow rate to your spray ball to the point to where you're not getting the internal portion of your tank clean, and you're not even getting a good enough flow rate to go through your racking arm, your ports on your tank, or anything like that. Okay. So most common mistake, one of them would be in that range, kind of on that mechanical action portion of it. And sometimes it's because people don't have a flow meter, but borrow somebody's, beg the boss, see if you can get one. But you know, you can maybe borrow one from somebody, and you can kind of get those. You can kind of see, and if you do have like a dirty transfer line and you want to tie it into a CIP for a fermenter, that's fine. But put that all together, all the things that you would typically be throwing on it, and see your gallons per minute, or liters per minute, or feet per minute, or meters per minute, or however you want to measure it. But you want to be digging into that stuff, because I do think that's a little secret thing. Okay, that sometimes goes overlooked. Something else that I think is very, very key. One of the things, I learned a lot of things when I was working at Sonder. When I was there, they have a CIP log for every tank. You have to log how long you wash something, what cycle it went through, what your chemical concentration was, all that stuff. Haley, good to see you in there. Welcome. Hi. So yeah, that's all stuff that you really want to be digging into. It's the really nitpicky stuff. And sometimes it can be the things that are like, you know, maybe not the most exciting, right? But from especially the bigger you get, you need to be able to track those things. So Mike over on Instagram, it's good to see you in here. I appreciate you dropping some questions. I see a whole bunch of lovely faces in here. It's good to see everybody in here tonight. So let's keep digging in here on these CIP topics. We are going to be focusing on clean in place tonight for tonight's live stream, but that doesn't mean you can't be dropping other questions on other topics in the chat. So do your thing. Let's talk about conductivity meters and titration. It's kind of another little thing that I never really did until I worked at Sonder. I did go out of my way, as I mentioned before, to make sure that I had appropriate volumes of water, or a measured amount of water that was going to become my dilute chemical base. So I knew I could measure out precisely. All right. So that was always very important to me. And that's the poor brewer's version of titration and conductivity meters and the like, right? You do want to be aware of that chemical concentration that you are circulating through your tank for multiple reasons. You want to make sure that not wasting chemical. You want to make sure there's enough in there. You want to make sure that you're rinsing appropriately, all that stuff. But the titration is super easy. You know, in a lot of cases, it's just a small, clear kind of sample vial. You get your CIP running. You let the caustic mix if it's not already pre-mixed with your water. You're circulating. You have some caustic that's coming out through one of the ports a little bit. Take a little sample off that, titrate it up, swish it, and you know you're in range. Okay. I think it's pretty easy. It's not super expensive. And long term, it's going to let you know what you're supposed to be doing with your tanks. Okay. So beyond that, beyond mechanical, flow rate, and what was the term? Mechanical action. That chemical concentration is big, and you need to track it. You can do that with a conductivity meter, or again, the little titration kits, and your chemical supplier can hook you up with that stuff. All right. I think it's really important to have a good relationship with your chemical supplier. You want to make sure you're using the right stuff, the right amount of stuff, right? So that relationship is big. Okay. Don't underestimate it. You know, we already touched on it, but as we're kind of rolling through this CIP topic, again, safety is key. As I mentioned before, always wear your PPE. Caustic and acid can be corrosive. Proper ventilation for PPA, for your peracetic acid. Don't be somebody that tastes caustic, like a dilute caustic solution, or that sounds crazy, but people do it. Don't do it. Or taste or smell for PAA. Like, you're just better off using other metrics, right? The sniff test on your PAA concentration is not appropriate. It's not a way to do it. You don't need to be sniffing that stuff and burning out your senses anyways. But so yeah, obviously always the appropriate PPE when you're doing this stuff, appropriate ventilation. You don't have to take a hit of PAA too many times before you know that you did the wrong thing. So yeah. And this kind of harkens back to Mike's question before when he was talking about common mistakes. I'm a big believer in a full tank breakdown when you clean a fermenter. And when I say full tank breakdown, the things that I'm including in that are your ports on the side of the tank, for a temperature probe, sample valve, anything like that. I want to get those smalls busted off of there, put into a separate situation to be cleaned separately, hose that out, scrub it out, and then run that CIP cycle on it. Okay. I like to use a brush when I do that stuff. Those cylindrical brushes. But I don't like seeing people, especially on fermenters, just have a port and you're not taking a temperature probe out, or you're not taking a sample valve off. You need to get either flow through there with your pump or mechanical cleaning with a brush. You just have to. You wouldn't believe what's in there, and you're not going to be passing any soil-free tests. You're not going to be passing any cleanliness tests with that, and it may not come out in the wash right away, but it's a sketchy procedure. Okay, it's a sketchy procedure. Get those ports open, scrub clean. You can pump chemical through them if you want as well. But yeah, that's my take on that. You have to be so paranoid about the shadows on your tanks. And just to discuss what a shadow is anything that is not going to be receiving full coating from your CIP cycle. Okay. So if you have a port right here, boom, and CIP chemical is running down the wall, you're not getting all the way through that port to clean that. Okay. The top of that port's going to be bad. The bottom of that port might not even be clean enough because of lack of mechanical action. Okay. So you got to get in there, ladies and gentlemen. You got to get in there, whether you're pumping chemical through or with a brush. You can go as far to talk about what is going on top of your tank. I have seen dry hot ports of all ways, shapes, and sizes. And I know from experience, after running a CIP on something, getting up top on that tank and pulling that port door open and seeing that I do not get appropriate CIP coating or sheeting in that port. Because I mean, some are just like stovepipes sticking out of it with a cap on top. Some are more like really in line and you really can get that clean. That's better. But you have to be aware of the peculiarities of the tanks that you're cleaning. That stuff's going to have to get hit manually otherwise. So you're getting ready to use some elbow grease and something like that, jumping up on top of that tank. Speaking of being on top of the tank, and this is one that blew my mind. So this is me, an example of something I have dropped the ball on. The original tanks that I had a rotating spray ball, and they seemed pretty fancy or whatever. You know, I mean, it was my first experience with them. They weren't just the stationary guys, you know, and it's spinning, it's doing its thing. Oh, this is awesome. And then I'm making beer, doing my thing, you know, and then at one point, far too long into having been working at this place, I'm like, I might have had an issue with the spray ball. Maybe it stopped spinning. Or something, or it got a little wonky, so I had to replace a gasket or whatever. I went up there and pulled it, and I saw that there are two shadows or spots that were not getting clean on my spray ball. If you're using yeast strains that will go far enough up your tank during fermentation to create contact with that spray ball, you leave krausen, protein, yeast, whatever, stuck on that thing. Never in a million years would I have thought that the spray ball itself would not get clean enough. So there's a couple of options. First of all, if you're not somebody that pulls your spray ball, you should go out and find out what they look like. It might be a sobering experience. What I started doing when I was at one of the last breweries I was at, I would run CIP. If I didn't need the tank that day, I would pull the spray ball after CIP was done, and I would put it in, an alkali soak, a PBW type soak for overnight, and then I would scrub it up in the morning with a scrubby that would not mark it or scratch the metal, and then I would rinse and reinstall that. I've also heard some people talk about how you could just do a slower flow rate or a lower flow rate just to hit the spray ball itself. But to be honest, I don't know, just so there's not as much pressure coming out, blasting out. If you lower it, maybe you can just make it come out enough to just kind of coat the head of the spray ball itself. I'm not wild about that because I still can't see. And I don't have proof that flow rate is getting it done. And I also don't know how long I need to be doing it, right? Kind of going back to those 4 pillars of CIP with time, temperature, chemical, and mechanical action. So I just pull them and check them out. It's at least something to be doing periodically, just to check the action on them if they are a spinning spray ball. Make sure you don't have anything stuck in there. You might find some things that you never thought you would find living inside your spray ball that is usually somewhere else in your brewery. So just, check it out. Check it out. You might not be sorry you did. But shadows, they can be the end of you when it comes to quality in both your bright tank side and your fermenter side. Earlier, we talked about splitting off a line. So you would have 2 CIP lines coming off of your pump. So you can hit the spray ball with one and other ancillary ports along the way. That's fine as long as your flow rate is not inhibited by that. But one thing I will say this, and I don't know if I said it before, but that secondary line that you have cutting off, I want it to be the same size as whatever port you're attempting to clean. And just to be like more specific, if you're cleaning an 1.5 inch racking arm and you have like a 3/16 line coming off that CIP source and going into that, you're not going to get a full channel of liquid going through there the way you want. You know what I mean? So you never want to be, underserving, undersupplying something like that, because you want full coating. You want your supply hose here, what you're cleaning over here. You want those sizes to match up so you have a full column of liquid going through. If you have an 1.5 inch, size port and then just a small, I've never mind. I wasn't going to bring those two things together. Leave me alone, people. I can already see people in the chat and my comments trying to make things weird. But anyways, you need a full channel of liquid going through there. So don't think that 3/8 line that you're trying to, the cutoff line that you're trying to feed through 1.5 inch is going to get it done. I wouldn't feel good about it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think I'm right. It just makes sense to me. I know you're not going to be getting a full channel of liquid through there. You're going to get some liquid and it may fill and you're going to get some turbulence, but it is probably not optimal. Okay. That's another one of my things. What else? Let's talk about CIPing smalls. For the love that is all and good and pure in the world, when you take that sweet Perlick sample valve off of your tank, the kind with the dial on the top, I tell you what, I am morally opposed to those ones that, like, it's just the nut on the one side and it's that carrot size thing that you shove in there and you hope to align it and you can never clean it. I hate those things. I hate those things. You need the dial type one that you can fully break down. Okay. Sample valves. I want you to break them all the way apart every time. And I really want you cleaning them in an ultrasonic cleaner. A soak is fine, whatever. But I want you doing it with an ultrasonic cleaner. I want flow going over that. If you have a vessel in your brewery where you can put some screens in front of the supply and whatnot for drawing off, and you can loop up something just to get some chemical flowing through your smalls. If you have kind of like a brink you don't want to use for anything anymore, and it's got a port at the bottom, throw a screen in the bottom so you're not going to be pulling stuff through there. Get good and hot water in there, your chemical in there, and loop up a little rig, something that you can circulate some chemical through your small parts at the end of the day. I would feel better about that. That would be better than a static soak. Static soak, if that's what all you can do, it's what you do. If you can circulate something, that's great. If you have an ultrasonic cleaner, that's what really makes me happy. I know money's tight out there, but you can. I got one that I used for a long time, and they're still using it at Cartridge, which is 5 years ago. I got it on Amazon, and it wasn't insane. Check them out. Make sure you're only using chemicals that are rated for it, everything like that. But I'm a huge fan of ultrasonic cleaner, and we'll talk about more later as we kind of jump into some of the different items you can be cleaning. Why I preface that like that, I don't know, because we're dipping right into carb stones. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about probably one of the things that is the most filthy thing on the cold side of your brewery. Hopefully it is not your Newsen Jaguars sending running back Tank Bigsby to the Eagles in exchange for a 2026 5th and 6th round pick. Tank Bigsby on the move. Yeah, everybody's gonna say that dude's Howie is a genius. He could do anything. I mean, he could supersize. He could supersize his meal at McDonald's, and it'll be like the guy's a genius. Jamie Tripp says solution to use an ultrasonic. I've used both PBW, standard CIP caustic, acid. I've used PAA in there. Just make sure that it's okay to run with the one that you've purchased. Okay. So check the temperatures. It's supposed to be able to be at all that stuff. Okay. But yeah, I've run a wide range of things in the one that I was using, Jamie. But probably one of the dirtiest things on the cold side of your brewery. Hopefully it is not your heat X. Hopefully it's nothing. But more than likely it is your carb stones. Carb stones are weird because, they can be threaded. And the whole point behind a carb stone is that you have this sintered stainless steel. Who's ready for some alliteration? And it's hard to get flow through it. A lot of times people just rely on soak or just leave it in there and hope the CIP liquid flows through it. The first thing is you have to blow them out, blow some water through them if you can. It's one of the reasons that I do like to have a situation where my carb stone is attached to a triclover, a ferrule on the end of it. So I can actually hook it up to city water, blow soil out of it, blow gas through it or compressed air through it to blow it out, and then get that CIP running on it. There's a couple ways that you can do this. One is by utilizing an ultrasonic cleaner, which I'm a huge fan of. But I've also seen people rig up a spool of stainless and then insert with triclover, insert their stone into it, and then put a CIP push through that and then looping it back. Okay, now don't go crazy with this at first. You're just blasting at full power or whatever. But you might be able to get a situation where you can push and circulate. And if you can build that stone in kind of into your loop with a spool, that might be a way of actually getting that chemical through if you don't have access to stuff like that. Carb stones are weird animals, man. I've used some of the ones we had at Sonder were cool because they were all triclovered out. And so you could just put a big valve on the end of it and it was really easy to work with. I've seen other ones. What are the one? Zamanegel have some, but they have a lot of parts and some threads, and you can make it work, whatever. You can obviously put those things into a situation to sterilize them, whether you're talking pressure cooker or something that's not a little bit janky. What's the actual thing called? It'll come to me, but it builds pressure, heat, and steam, so you can sterilize stuff. But yeah. So I'm a big lover of the ultrasonic cleaner for your smalls. I really, really am. It's so hard if you have anything threaded, anything that just has nooks and crannies that you can't get after, man. I just absolutely love using an ultrasonic cleaner for those applications. So yeah. Let's dip in a little different direction here for a minute. I had a question come in on Instagram, and I'm wondering if the information is a little too specific, so I'm going to try to generalize it. But I actually have multiple questions from Chris on this week's. But Do you have any thoughts on craft beer decline? Listen, folks, more CIP info after this, but we cover it all. Okay. And this is actually one, I'm not gonna lie, this touched my heart a little bit. And for those of you that have been following the channel, you probably know why. But Chris says, do you have any thoughts on craft beer decline? Trying to feel normal in this spiral. I've been a brewer for a long time. I would love to hear what you have to say. And we actually followed up, and he said something else, and it just really hit the old heartstrings. He said, yeah, I asked was there anything in specific? And he says, it's anything to keep the spirits up. Just curious to see what other industry folks are feeling, to be honest. Well, Chris, I mean, I lost my job last year. So it might seem crazy that I'm laughing about it. But I mean, listen, I mean, we know that the industry isn't what it was 5 years ago, and certainly 10 and all that stuff, right? And, you know, sometimes they say you laugh so you don't cry, but it's been long enough that I can smile about it now. You know, I'm doing this full time. I'm stay-at-home dadding 3 days a week, and you know, life is good. Life is good, and it's part of the path for me. You know what I mean? But I tell you what, man, getting called into a meeting where, you know, it's a couple owners and HR. I was thinking, I'm like, because I was in management, you know what I mean? I had worked from home the day before, and I'm like, oh no, something happened while I was gone, and I need to deal with it. And then they were letting me go. So, you know, I'm familiar with the gut punch, and the hard times, a reflection of the hard times of our industry. But I'm going to talk to you about a few things on this, and this is just me talking from the heart, from my experience, and I hope something hits for you, because it can be scary, and it can be a lot to deal with. So your value goes beyond what you do for a living. Your job is not your identity or your value. I'm not saying that you said this. These are some things that are good reminders for myself as well. There was a period of time for me where being a brewer was everything. It was everything I was. It wasn't the fact that I was a father of 4. It wasn't a fact that I was a husband to an amazing woman, that I had friends that loved me, that I had a supportive community. I was a brewer. And something that has made career trials easier to deal with is me coming to a deeper understanding of who I am and where my value lies. I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but I'm just talking on the topic, man. I became a much happier man when I realized that me as brewer was way further down the list than the other things I just mentioned. You know, I know now, you know, just through my lens, and people can have their own ways of looking at things. For me, I've got a God that made me willfully, and with intention, and loves me. I've been given a family that loves and supports me through everything. I've always had stability, even though we play it tight, man, financially, you know? We made choices to be in this industry, and wealth is not one of those, is not one of the things that comes with that. But I've got it, you know, I've got good stuff, you know? And when I started seeing myself more as a father, as a son, as a friend, the craziness of work and the industry became a little bit quieter. Now, we're talking about real things as well. We're talking about potentials for job loss, businesses closing, and people losing dreams, right? I would encourage you, and again, I mean, we've exchanged two messages on Instagram, so maybe you have all this stuff going, but this is stuff that has been beneficial to me, and not that I have it all nailed down, but these are my goals. I try to be balanced. You know, for me, I would recommend, whether you talk about prayer, meditation, or mindfulness. I know everybody's at a different point in their life. For me, it's prayer. For other people, it's meditation. For other people, it's mindfulness. You need some sort of internal / spiritual peace and focus. Okay. I would encourage you in that direction to dial back in if you haven't, because that has bore fruit for me. We got to take care of ourselves, man. We work in a industry full of pitfalls. We can get hurt at work. We can depend on substances. We can eat poorly. We can sleep poorly. Got to take care of ourselves. All those things help lift my mental health. Speaking specifically to my thoughts on craft, I don't believe craft beer is dead. I don't believe beer is dead. I think, do we need to be smart? Do we need to be malleable? Do we need to maybe adjust our expectations? Sure. Do we need to be willing to make beverages that maybe we're not interested in making? Maybe. You know, like, I don't know. I mean, the stuff I have almost no interest in making is like sugar wash stuff and whatever, but I know people do, and then maybe I could dig into some stuff on that. I mean, just as far as, you know, making seltzer or whatnot, I don't know how long that would keep my candle lit, but, you know, to each his own. But also, I you know, we have to appreciate the process and being tight and doing well with things. But, you know, I think we're going to be in a rough patch for a while, but all this stuff is cyclical. But, you know, the reality is craft beer was a rocket ship for way too long. It was insane. At what point in what business could you go up to somebody and say, listen, me and my boys are going to open this place. We have no experience in restaurant operation. We have no experience in commercial level production of alcohol. And we're going to open a kitchen, a restaurant, and a brewery, and we're going to buy a bottling line, more than likely, and we're going to crush it. And it worked for 20 years. That's insane. Things are going to come back to some level of, I don't know, stasis. I don't think stasis is the right word, but equilibrium. Okay. I think there's room for well-run businesses that make smart decisions. That said, in this industry, you make your own stability. I would get to professional development things, conferences, MBAA, if you're on the distillery side, stuff on that side. Talk to people, meet people, form strong relationships, genuine relationships, not best friends with everybody, right? But start dialing up your networking game. Create something that you can fall back on, right? Create options, right? And in my mind, how you do that is You go, say you're hanging out with a supplier, just talk to them about them, like them personally, what's going on, what they like doing, what they do for fun. Talk about their families if they have them. What's the best part about work? You know what I mean? What's something that is like a struggle for you right now at work? Talk to them like people. Keep planning, because that's a goodness, right? That's a mercy that you're doing with people when you speak to them like people, right? When you are genuine with them. So yeah, build out that network, because it may help soften, the potential of job changes when they come, I like to, when I am on point with the prayer, meditation, mindfulness front, I like to start with focus in the morning. So my prayer in the morning, it focuses on the things I want to be looking at, working on, along with gratitude, praise and everything like that. But do a check-in at noon and do a check-in in the evening on those points, and just try to keep life simple. I'm somebody where a lot of things can be swirling. Do some journaling, some discussion with a loved one. What are the core things that matter? And focus. Stay off of social media. Things that just make you crazy, because it does. So yeah. Anyways, brother, that's my take. It hurts me. I'm glad that you reached out, but it hits that spot in your heart, because I know what it is, and sometimes it's still me now. What I'm doing is not like, it's early stages. You know what I mean? I'm grinding. I'm trying to do my thing. But yeah. So hopefully you get something out of it, Chris. I appreciate you hitting me up. And really back to why we do these things live. I want to be able to help facilitate some of that community, man, where we can have discussions about things like this. So really appreciate you being open enough to share. So cheers, brother. Next question is from Chris on Instagram. And hey, listen, if you're listening live, pop those questions in. I've got a handful more stuff. But if you got some questions, get them in there, and we'll keep rolling. Man, we're an hour 20 in, baby. Woo. CIP Smalls. Oh, we've already talked about that. Draft lines. We're not going to go super deep dive on this, folks, but here's some big picture stuff. First of all, cleaning 2 weeks, all that stuff, right? Make sure that you're using the recommended chemicals, recommended concentration for the recommended amount of time. Now, a couple of things. One of the things that I see a ton of, and I have done a ton of my own, and in the meantime, QN, good to see you in the chat. I don't know if that was your question or not, but either way, I'm glad you got some value out of it, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I have 20 draft lines, right? And so I've got all these jumpers. I've got an in on one side, the outs coming out the other, and then everything else is jumpered up all the way down. I've run that before myself, almost exclusively. And, the more I dug in on this stuff, I'm realizing I'm probably losing my flow rate. So let's dig into this. I think you're better running less lines and then switching over and cleaning more effectively. Okay, so let's dip in just a little bit. Here's some kind of 30,000 view look at this. Okay, when you're deciding how many lines to clean at once, consider flow rate and how many lines you can clean with your pump, and each pump is going to be different. You don't want to be exceeding more than likely 60 psi on this system, so keep it under that. Keep it closer to 50. or whatever is recommended for your system. But you want to have turbulent flow with your CIP on your draft lines. You can just do like the push through. I'm not static cleaning. I'm not crazy about it. The numbers on this are like this. You want turbulent flow. So you want chemical being pumped through approximately 2 gallons per minute target. And you can measure that pretty easy with your return. Okay. You just do it with plain water if you want, and see how many lines you can hook up and still get that 2 gallons per minute. The numbers I see on it say that flow rate like that is 80 times more effective than static cleaning for your draft lines. So there's a difference. Static soaking, it is what it is. If it's the only thing you can do, it's definitely less effective because of lack of turbulence. Can be acceptable for short runs, 20 feet or less, but it's not ideal. I don't like to do that as a regular part of my line cleaning regimen. You do want those lines cleaned probably every 2 weeks. Brewers Association recommends every 2 weeks. Some people do more often, but you got to stay on top of it. I do like full breakdowns on your faucets though. And here's where that ultrasonic cleaner can come in again. Break them down, throw them in there, shake them. It's good. I like it. Okay. Caustic-based alkaline cleaner removes organic soils. Your concentrations can vary. This says, what I have in my notes right here is 2 to 3%, but stick with what your recommendation is, temperature, time, everything like that. A lot of them run at cooler temperatures, more like in the cold caustic range, 100 degrees to 120 degrees F. Sorry, my C people, but you can check that out through a conversion. You can run some acid cleaner behind it. It does help with beer stone, calcium oxalate, scale. The thing that I was reading was suggesting, maybe every 3 months. On the acid side, some people run it every time. I like running it every time if you can. But again, you're shooting for those 2 gallons per minute. If you're going under that, you're going to have to increase your cleaning time, your concentration, stuff like that. I would just rather clean less at once. When I was at Sonder, I think they were circulating 1 line at a time. And shout out to Matt. You want to see a brother clean draft lines efficiently. That guy was next level over there. Matt, shout out to you, man. I hope you're doing well. 0% chance that you're going to hear this, but I hope you're doing well, brother. But yeah, he was a G. He could run through that thing. And what they were doing, and something that Chase that runs Sonder over there, something he's very, very good with, is just being on top of all those things when it comes to CIP. So if anybody's going to run a single individual line, it's going to be Chase. And he had great flow rate through there and got those things nice and clean. So some kind of quick hot takes on that stuff, especially if you're running a short draw. Don't be worried about switching out that beer line that's coming out of your cooler. Okay. Give those couplers attention, swap them out when you can, get those things clean, rotate them. If you just have a short draw system where you just have, 6 feet of beverage line or 8 feet of beverage line, dude, it's cheap. Cut that stuff out every 6 months, 12 months if you want. Obviously cleaning along the way, but yeah, you might be able to save yourself some problems down the line. So a few nuggets or two on the CIP front for your draft lines. I had another CIP notion here. First time I was exposed to this was at Rheingeist. If you have not seen my brew day at Rheingeist, it's awesome. I mean, not because it's me, but because the information's great, man. Just so cool to go. They rolled out the red carpet for me. Okay. I got in, we did several turns of Truth IPA that day. We went through their amazing, I believe it's a Rolex brewhouse. They have all the gear, man. They have centrifuges, they have decanters, they have magical toys. You need to see it if you're a brewing geek, okay? Because it's just so cool to see that stuff. But in one of the spots in their cellar, they have a CIP rig that runs cold caustic. It never occurred to me, and then my wheels started turning, and I'm like, oh, I get it. So let's dig into this. Why would you want to use cold caustic? Energy savings. If you are cleaning a fermenter or a bright tank with hot caustic, and that tank was cold, you're going to be heating it up, and you are going to be pulling that heat out eventually with your chiller, with your glycol chiller, with your HVAC. You don't want to have to be doing that. Cold caustic can help save steam and electricity used for heating that stuff, right? The interesting thing is as you drop, and we mentioned this kind of a little bit at the beginning of the show, as you drop that temperature, you have to increase the chemical concentration, okay? So if you're able to wash at colder temperatures, you don't have to add or spend additional energy to get that tank back to a temperature where you want it, as opposed to cleaning it at 160 degrees F or 140 degrees F. All right. So hopefully that makes sense, but you are going to have to dial up that concentration. Less thermal stress on gaskets, seals, spray balls. How it works. Caustic is less effective when cold. Soils dissolve slower. Some suppliers can formulate a cold caustic blend. It'll have different surfactants that help to break down proteins, fats, hop resins faster. Sequestering agents, which bind water hardness minerals, prevent scale, help prevent scale deposits. And sometimes oxidizers, which we're going to get into a little bit more later, which can help to boost cleaning. These additives can replace the heat component in the time, temp, chemical, mechanical cleaning action equation. Typical parameters. Concentration is 2 to 4%, typically higher than hot caustic since cold is less aggressive. Ambient temps anywhere from 50 to 80 degrees F. Contact time 30 to 45 minutes, longer than hot caustic, which might only be 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, but you're playing a game here. All right. Now the numbers that I'm giving, if you're going to work with this stuff, talk to your chemical supplier. Okay. As always, talk to your chemical supplier. They may have different products, different ways of using it. So work with them. I'm introducing some bigger concepts that you can bring to them. Okay. You must maintain strong turbulence. All right. And again, that's stuff that you can track. That is per your diameter of pipe, hoses, and whatnot. You can look that up based on whatever size equipment you're using. There are going to be some limitations. Burnt wort caramelization can be difficult to get off without hot caustic. Biofilm breakdown could be slower cold, unless oxidizers are used. And you still need to be looking out for beer stone. Large breweries, Heineken, Carlsberg, have adopted cold caustic CIP as early as the 90s, okay, in order to save energy. So it's being used by some bigger folks. Studies show properly formulated cold caustic reduces cleaning energy costs by 40 to 60% with no loss in microbiological control when validated by ATP swabs and plate counts. Okay, now, these savings may be coming at much larger places that need to be turning tanks more often. If you're just going to CIP caustic a tank and then let it cool down overnight, and then you're going to run acid and PAA on it in the morning and then fill it, maybe we're not talking for you. But we're just talking big picture concepts here. Okay. Commonly paired with ultimately PAA. downstream on the sanitation side. So it's something interesting to take a dip into. Start digging into some research on it. Think about if you think it might be something that would work for you. And really where this had my mind going is this is one of those disaster things. For some reason, you have no access to hot water. Something broke, something's wrong, and you need to get a tank clean. Look into it. You could burn a little bit more, use a little bit more caustic than you normally would, but like dig into this. It's one more thing that's in your brewer's tool belt for even if this isn't something that you're just going to use wholesale all the time in your place, you have it in your back pocket in case something pops up like that. Okay. So yeah, that's my take on cold caustic. Hopefully this is a boost for you to do a little digging on your own. And listen, some people call me the king of the segue. But let's talk about a peroxide boost, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, how at everybody in the chat. Good to see you in there. Thanks for joining. I'm getting more and more people on Instagram all the time. This is interesting. Got a good amount of people in the YouTube chat. I'll be interested to see on Twitch. I've been streaming some stuff over there too. So we'll see. I don't think I've gotten a Twitch question yet. So, but it's been popping pretty good in Instagram. It's good to see everybody in there. Again, just drop your brewing topics, anything like that. We are talking CIP tonight, but we'll talk anything industry. So just drop it in there. Let's talk about a little peroxide boost, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I have one other back here that I don't want to forget. Oh, it's other Chris, not other Chris. You're just as valid as the first Chris. But peroxide boost, let's talk about it. This is something that you can implement when running a caustic cycle on something. Quite often, I would do that when I was cleaning my kettle, cleaning my mash tun. Areas where I know I'm going to be getting some or can be building up some serious deposits. And so what I would do is I would get my hot water in, I would get my caustic in, and then I would add that peroxide or that boost. Do not be adding those two raw chemicals together. For me in the kettle, I would go through the manway and I would pour the caustic over here, and then I would pour the booster over on this side. All right, but don't be mixing those two. And just in general, maybe I'm dumb and you can mix them all day long, but I don't mix chemicals like that. I would rather them come into contact in a dilute format rather than in the dense sugar in the raw. Ryan, I'll hit you up in just a second, brother. But I find that it breaks down organic solids, biofilms, proteins, hop resins that caustic alone can struggle with. So it's one of the ways that I can bust down some stuff that is in some of those stubborn vessels that you're applying heat to, and it can really stick to the sides. So that's good. I love using those oxidizing agents. It will create turbulence or foam when you're circulating it, not to the point to like where you won't be able to keep pumping your liquid, but it helps generate additional agitation. It improves contact and penetration into hard to reach surfaces. Again, I like to run it also sometimes when I'm going through my heat exchanger as well. And then it also says, peroxide just decomposes into water and oxygen, leaving no harmful residues. If you are somebody that's kind of skulking around the brew scene with a nasty looking kettle and kind of stained up and stuff like that, and you're always wondering, what can I be doing to get that stuff off of there? Sometimes some acid stuff will help as well, after your caustic or even beforehand. I've heard of people running acid before their acid cycle, before their caustic in their kettle to crack that stuff. I mean, I don't even know, but these are just some of the things, and then they'll come back with caustic afterward. But again, more reasons to be hitting up your chemical rep and really digging in. Jamie, yes, king of the segue. You roll on two wheels. I was actually thinking of trying to make the scooter reference, but you were on point for me, JT. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, so this is something. Get with your rep. Talk to them about appropriate handling, appropriate dosage rates for the volumes that you're going to be using and things like that. I think it's a very handy thing. I personally, I have used it when I was at Sonder. We had these Big Daddy CIP tanks, and sometimes when we knew we were going to have a really nasty fermenter and it was going to be really gross in there, we'd rinse it, but then we would get a really strong caustic going in there with some oxidizer, and that's what we would blast rinse it with to get most of that soil out that was up in top there. Because when we were running the CIP skid there, we only ran clean chemical. So we would rinse that tank until it was clear going down to the drain, and then we'd hook our loop and start spinning it clean. Because with a CIP skid, you want good you don't want nasty caustic that you're pushing around, right? So anyways, yeah. But those are some use cases for that boost peroxide type product. If you're not familiar, talk to your chemical supplier. Again, follow all the rules and regs and talk to them about what it might be able to do for you. Bonus tip. One thing that I love. One of my favorite things about working at Sonder, and there was other things, don't get me wrong, but I loved at the end of the day that the floors got bleached. And we would use bleach with a foaming agent and through a spray thing, and the floors got bleached every day at the end of the day. If you used an area of the brewery, it got bleached, the floors. And bleach, scrub, rinse down, go home. Your brewery never smells like a can deposit at Meijer, Kroger, Publix, whatever you have. Yeah, I love that. So that it's not a CIP thing, but it's a cleaning thing that I absolutely love. Walk into that brewery, that smell of bleach, you're like, oh baby, it's clean. So that's that. And then let's jump back to Chris over here, because Chris had a question. And actually, I should have called this up. I wonder, will this ruin everything? Yes, probably. I'm not going to try. The magic of your imagination right now. Follow me. I'll read the question and then I'll act it out with my hands, so you'll definitely be able to see it. Rod, good to see you in there, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well also. Maybe I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you at the Ohio conference. We'll see. Chris on Instagram, have you seen yeast harvest like this before? He said, I've seen harvesting off the bottom of a tank before, but I have not seen this. What he saw was somebody with brewery transfer hose going from the blow-off arm of an actively fermenting beer, running down and connecting to the bottom valve on a yeast brink. And then the top of the brink had another hose. It was all sealed, but another hose that came off of that and then went into the blow-off bucket. So what you're essentially doing is you're capturing blow-off in the brink and then blowing your CO2 through the top of the brink, right? So you're able to collect your solids and do some yeast harvesting. Jessica Young, if you did not check out my episode that I did with Jessica Young on hop creep, you should, because she's smart and it's awesome. I think maybe she was tied to some research on trying to do some yeast harvest through Kreuzen harvest. Because sometimes people have this problem with these yeast strains that stay very much up in the Kreuzen. And sometimes people want to be doing dry hop, or they want to dry hop and they don't want to, everybody's using London 3 or some derivative thereof for their hazies. And, some people like to dry hop at different times. It can mess up your yeast harvest. And so sometimes people look at ways of getting that yeast for the yeast strains that really like to stay up in the krausen. Maybe this is a way. I'm interested. I think what you would want to do is you would want to be able to want to make sure that you are really locked in with your cleaning and sanitizing procedures, as with always. But on that brink, on those hoses that are going in and out of it, it should be tight, tight, tight. I would prefer to burn it out with 80C water, 185C hot water, or 185F hot water. And then getting that blown out and empty, and just being ultra tight on the cleaning and sanitizing side. So, yeah. But it is a way that you could harvest like that. My guess is at some point you're going to shut it down. And then, when you're just going your blow off, or when you've got what you needed by volume, you're going to want to be able to get a uniform sample off of that yeast so you can do your count, know your solids, all that stuff. I would be tempted to kind of do a little bit of a trube drop or a cone shave on something like that, to make sure that you're kind of keeping that wort as clean as possible from a cold break standpoint and dead yeast standpoint. But yeah, this is not something that's going to work on the lager side. But on some of those yeasts that really love to jump up in the top of your tank, that might be an interesting thing to check out. I would also want to plate it for micro stuff too, and make sure things are tight on that front. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I know there is some stuff people talking about actually hooking up a rig like that and actually blowing CO2 through maybe the racking arm to kind of push krausen out. I've seen people do different things. I think it's interesting, and I think it's worth digging into. Rod, yeah, I will not be at Oktoberfest this weekend, but maybe I'll see you at the conference. Ryan is in the chat and has this question. What is your number one word of advice for the new generation of brewers looking to go pro? Well, Ryan, if you know me at all, you know that there's no one point. There's no one word. There's always many words. All right. So my advice is this. You said the next generation of brewers. So I'll try to hit up a wide range of things here. You're not going to do it for the money. So it helps if you have a significant other that makes good money, and that has good insurance. It's just a reality. Okay. Or you're in the financial situation where you can handle that, that's great. But I do not believe you want to add financial stress to what can be a stressful career, as strange as that might sound. So I think you should learn as much as you can, talk to a lot of different brewers, look for information from reliable sources, people with experience. Keep the ego low. If you're hitting a situation where you feel as if you're getting high emotion about something, for me, it is because in some way, shape, or form, my ego is being trammeled on. So I try to be mindful of that and try to step back, and rather than becoming reactive, being able to think and process through that. That's something that I've worked on over the years. Don't be afraid. I'm not a fan of this brewery is a family. I mean, you can cut somebody out of your life, but you can't fire family. They're still going to be your blood. The reality is, and this is what it is, a brewery is not your family. The people there are not your family. You can have great relationships, great friendships, sure. And maybe they can be those inner circle people, but they're not your blood. Because I've been told that before, and then when the books aren't balancing, you don't have a job. So, and that just is what it is. And I've told employers, like, because I was told by somebody one time that they wanted me to sign a non-compete. And I said, how about this? I said, how about I work my hardest, and I do my best. I'm honest, and I try to be a person of character. And if you like what I'm doing, you keep paying me and occasionally give me raises. And if you don't like what I'm doing, you'll fire me, because that's what you'll do. Or if you can't afford to pay me, that's what you'll do. And I said, the flip side is I'll keep working here as long as I'm happy. And when I'm not happy, I'm going to leave. I think that's kind of the unwritten contract, right? I mean, I think brewers are too loyal to the brewery that they work for. It's not your business. It's not your brewery. It's not your beer. Some people might not like that. Some people don't like the things I say on here sometimes. But I don't care if you're the head brewer or whatever. If you don't own the brewery, it's not your beer. Because if they no longer employ you, they're making your beer. It's their beer. It's their recipes. It's all that stuff. Okay? So, and circling back to some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier, like, stay balanced, stay healthy. And this isn't mean stuff that I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's just true. And that's fine. But the problem is we want it to be real. I want it to be my beer. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into it. It's my passion project, right? But it's just not the reality. So you just have to have a mindset shift. And that doesn't mean you throw up your hands and you say, whatever, this isn't for me. That's not it. But you just got to get your mind right. Okay? So yeah, learn. Good podcasts, test things, find things out. And this isn't to pump the stuff I'm doing. I'm learning so much going into different people's breweries and seeing different things. Shadow as much as you can, dude. If you ever get a chance to do a collab, how about this? Don't get hammered. Okay. How about you go and like brew with somebody and actually talk about making beer? And maybe that's just me, bro. If brewing's just your job, that's cool. I mean, but if you want to be great, I mean, I'm assuming that's why you want to do it. I'm assuming that's why you listen to a live stream with me, just some knob sitting in, his side room, like nobody in their right mind listens to this unless they're actually like, hey, I want to get better at this stuff, right? And maybe this fool knows something. You know what I mean? So like, get out there and grind, man. Learn. When you get a chance to brew with other people, get in other people's space. Just be excited and don't be like, why do you do it like that? Like, don't like be aware of the tone and be like, oh, that's so interesting. Why do you guys do that? I've not seen that before. Be grateful. People like to share with people that are grateful. Not everybody, but most people. All right. But yeah, first of all, make sure you can do it. Make sure you can afford the lifestyle change if it is a lifestyle change. Make sure you can handle a lifestyle where you're surrounded by substances. I don't know what it's like at big breweries, but I mean, there's substances everywhere, right? And that's not a judgmental thing, but it's like, is that going to work for you? Some people it does, some people it doesn't. It can chew people up. I mean, the number I've seen this industry and a lot of relationships, marriages, long-term relationships, family relationships. So, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just trying to be real about it. So, I don't know. Think about why you want to be doing it. I'll be honest, when I wanted to do it, I wanted people to think I was a good brewer. I wanted people to think I was a great brewer. And I wanted to win medals, and I wanted people to see that I won them. And what motivated that was the fact is I had no idea who I was or where my value lied or laid or whatever. And now, thank God, I've got a better thing. So some self-reflection, man. Why do you want to do it? I'm just trying to give you the tools, the things to think about before you get into that. Because it is a big thing. It is. Career changes are a big deal. Career changes are a big deal. Then again, I loved it. I love doing it. So, it could be right for you. Could be right for you. Chat, I think this is just about everything that I have for you today. As always, man, it's great to see so many people. Great to see so many people in the chat. So many people popping in and say, hey, I love getting any opportunity we can to build community, get things off our chest, get better, know that other people are in there with us doing it. You know what I mean? But anyways, keep an eye out. I've got podcasts coming out weekly. Follow on Instagram. Always drop me questions, input, feedback, all that stuff. Just for fun. I mean, if you're looking for the just for fun, something that has been a big spark for me, man, it's been fun doing these little random podcasts with my boy Stu, the Small Town Guys pod. It's been fun. It's nice to just be late. And I know it won't be for everybody because, a lot of people, we talk beer stuff, but yeah, check that stuff out. If you just feel like kicking back a little bit, you might enjoy it. It's been something that I've really been enjoying. Stu is one of those guys where you'll probably tell because, it's just, us cutting up or whatever. But like what's fun with Stu is we did 90 minutes the other day during the Chargers Chiefs game. There are no notes. We're just riffing on stuff. And he's so fun to play off of. We have such a good time. He makes me laugh so much. But anyways, yeah. A couple more notes from the chat in here. Ryan said, thank you for the honesty. It actually falls a lot in line with my management training and my mentor's mental and advice. I want to make a place where I can make great beer, educate people on craft. Yeah, man. Awesome. Jamie, Channel All-Star in there. Jamie's been supporting the channel for a long time. Dude, healthy environment makes for happy staff. Cheers. And thank you for all your guidance. I can't wait to see you up north there. Jamie, someday, baby. Someday. The Great White North. I got my passport, man. You never know where I'm going to be. Shout out, I'm not going to GABF. Some people had asked. It's not going to work. My wife had some stuff change with work, and I can't do that weekend. So anyways, another time. But as always, make sure you follow me. Instagram's the best. Facebook works. But do what you can to share my stuff out. If there's other people like you that are passionate about what they're doing, if you do me a favor and show them my stuff and maybe it's something they would like, I really support. I would really appreciate it. This is the full-time gig for me. And we have some cool stuff on the horizon. So everything you do to support me helps. So love to you all. Be good to your people. Human on earth, human here. I stopped in and met Jamie. Great beer. Hey, love it. Human on earth, another long timer, man. We got some new ones and some all-stars in here. So but yeah, be good to your people. Love to you all. And I'll catch you next time. And if you didn't know, the intro music, outro music is by somebody who's going to be on a pod soon. A buddy of mine with a band called Mas Donkey. Go and check them out. Show a little love to my sponsors at Blickman and Brewed Fiscally. Have a great one, everybody. Cheers.
This feeling's deeper than an ocean. with a groove that's beating harder than my heart. So baby, now just hear me out. No, don't fear this emotion, 'cause you can't stop the fire once it starts.